my god. We're just gonna take a moment and process that it wasn't an automatic thing for going live. I thought this automatically went live at my specifically designated time, and now I'm here. It just, oof. Okay, we actually are live. I've been talking to the void for this entire time. Hi! Hi! I just realized it didn't start automatically if I scheduled it, so welcome on in. Hey Globe, how are you doing? How are you feeling today? I have literally been streaming for, according to my OBS, 12 minutes and didn't notice I wasn't actually live. Okay, wow! Great to have you in today. So I had an idea a few nights ago for a sketch I wanted to get done, and normally, as you've seen, I end up, for my art, doing blocking for my sketches, which is great, but I had an idea, I got it down as I was falling asleep, and now I'm going with it. So we're gonna do this, and then I'm actually going to do some exercises, so if you wanted to follow along with that later on after we're done with this, you just need either your drawing program, or a pencil and paper, or whatever medium you're most comfortable in. These really mostly work for drawn or painted mediums, particularly like sketching, but I'm not gonna stop someone from trying them with, like, modeling clay. It'll be hard, but... Ooh. So I've gotta define my armor. I know this is gonna be weird right now, but I'm gonna do a cold-ish steel for this breastplate bit and the pauldron. And rather than using, like, a blue tone, I want to use the purple, because I think the purple will kind of stand out. It'll add some warmth into the body without making it super stand out. And it'll also kind of keep it fun, because this is a character that's primarily not relying on armor. They have more natural defenses. I don't have it in yet, but there's actually going to be some scale work scattered across the skin, because yay, draconic characters. This should actually be over the skin layer. Ooh. Salacion Town always hits so hard as a song. How you doing? How's your weekend been? I hope this is gonna be good time. I can actually pin a comment. Nope. Okay, alright. Is there? It's next to the reactions button. That's how we pin it. This is what we do. Yeah, it is a work in progress. It is definitely something I'm gonna have to work on, but you know, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be alright. It just has some basic channels up. I need to do the bot stuff later. I'll probably bring in a friend to help with that, but it might take a hot moment. You know what? That's okay. I need to do the capelet, which is gonna be in the same color as the pants. And be this, like, batwing almost thing there. I don't think I'm gonna include the wings in the final design. I'll add them in for now. But I'm always iffy on if I like having the wings showing on this character. Then we're gonna actually do the same color for the boots as we had for pants, because the main thing that's gonna separate them is actually that fur trimming. Fur is so much fun to draw. Like, here's the thing. Fur has so many interesting textures in it. I usually end up liking to do a cream-ish color for furs that I have on characters, because usually when I'm bringing in a fur, it's to add in contrast, and my characters either have super colorful outfits in those cases, and I'm trying to add in some more muted colors, or they have a darker color palette in general, and the fur is lightening them up. Also harkens back to like bygone eras and fantasy settings, and I like it when my characters kind of stand out, kind of pop out in a modern world. So we're gonna have light coming from there and from there. So that is not the right color for that. We need it way more saturated. Means the top of the face isn't gonna be as highly shaded as or as light as the rest of the body. So we're gonna just go ahead and plop. I need to add in the darkest color first in a shaded area, and then kind of work around it. This is gonna be more of an anime nose than what I normally do. Still gonna have all my stupid eye detailing, because I think my stupid eye detailing looks really good usually. Yep, that's the light for the eyes. We're gonna go ahead and bring in... We're gonna do this above the hair layer. It's definitely a choice, but I can always reverse it later. I'm gonna raise those eyebrows even further because I want this character to look surprised. We're gonna need to have that look of almost shock on her face as she's casting the spell. We are officially in the sketchless part of this drawing now. Okay. I want to make that nose a little bit more upturned, and I'm going to start off with just a little bit of... What's that look? That looks good. 3, 4. Yeah, I like the little bit. I like it like that. That's cute. That's adorable. Which, this isn't going to be as intimidating as other pieces I do. It's definitely leaning more into the cutesy, into the fantasy bit of it. I should have actually made this under part blue. It's not too late to fix that. I can just go above the fur. I'll add in a collar. Yeah, okay. That kind of goes hard. I can do like detailing. I'll add in... Because it's using the same blue as the hair, I'll make the gem on this pink. And then underneath it, I'll go in with the black again, or our navy blue. It's not quite black. We can have this. Shoot, okay, that looks great. That makes the design way more interesting. Go back to the skin layer. Actually add in a little bit of whiteness on that forehead. Let's define our arms. And we're doing our hands. We're getting the frog out of the way. Remember to eat your frog. There's only a limited amount of time that you have to work on the hands per piece. It's better to just get them out of the way earlier on. Or at least the roughs of them. Like bloop. Doing thumb sticking out right in the front. Rest of the fingers are like that, and we don't need to define this super hard because it is being cut off by the edge of the canvas. Should just make sure we know where it is. I'm not sure if I'll keep the wings, but we're definitely going to start off with them in, and I can delete them later if I don't want them. Now I need the lasso tool. I'm going to go in ahead underneath and just kind of flump, flump. Lasso tool, we're going to repeat that like this in this area. And the great news about the legs is they're tubes. They're tubes with knees. They're two adjoining tubes in a ball. And in this case, the ball is hidden there. It's hidden by the floof. It still exists, but the floof is where our knees are. So we're really shading tubes at this face. Again, going to be a place with way stronger contrast because that's where our primary light sources are coming from the hands. So we just gotta at least kind of pick up where we are at this point. We'll define it more as we go along, but we just get the sense in. There we go, we're getting these dragon wings done so fast, so quickly. Okay, pop off. Absolutely pop off. Okie dokie, alright, here we go. I remember to mute myself. No, I did not. We need to make sure no one gets doxxed. Add a ton of detail to the eyes yet, but it's looking soulless, and I'm not gonna enjoy staring into them the entire time. Given the pose, you can kind of guess that I've been rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender, which, by the way, is of course amazing, but I recently just got through the Ba Sing Se arc, and I'm heading back into Season 3. That's always good. That's always nice. I do kinda like the arcs in the final season of Avatar. It's one of the places where Sokka, of course, really gets to shine, It's the defining part of the story for Zuko. It's also perfect for a bisexual with absolutely no idea how to deal with their gay panic. Both Azula and Zuko are so stupidly pretty. I can't even deal with that. Listen, my bisexual ass definitely had a moment watching Avatar The Last Airbender growing up where they kind of realized, oh, I don't know if I want to be either of these characters or I want to be with them. Do I want to be as powerful as Azula, or do I want to hold Azula in my arms and tell her everything's going to be okay? Which is not the response Azula should have gotten from anyone. But you know what? People who can kill you are kind of great. They're kind of spooky and they're kind of wonderful, and I kind of love them. I'm a certified scary lady enjoyer. I'm actually gonna put, yeah, that, I'm sorry. Ooh, so I actually had kinda an idea for a sketch of the character I've been using since like 2020 for most of my profile pictures the other night, and I didn't know if I was gonna finish it, but looking back at it, I really liked it, so I'm making myself a new profile picture. Very cute new profile picture. It doesn't help that I'm planning on finally moving away from this character design soon, but you know what? I still like the character design, and even though I'm planning on rebranding it soon to something newer, I kinda wanna have more art, especially of the Warlord design, because the Warlord design is relatively recent in comparison to the Witch design for my icon, and I don't have as much art of the Warlord version as of the Witch version. Later on, I'm planning on doing some different exercises, maybe another actual piece. But you know what? For now, we're just going with the idea that I had that I like. Very much so Avatar The Last Airbender inspired in the posing. I don't know if you've seen the show. I'm gonna assume yes, because it's Avatar The Last Airbender, and that feels like, thank you! I know, right? I hope you're doing well. It's Avatar The Last Airbender, and it feels like everyone's seen Avatar The Last Airbender, because it's one of the most defining shows of the past few decades, particularly for people who enjoy art. But you know, right after Zuko alone, during the episode where Toph splits away from the gang because Appa was shedding and no one was getting sleep, and they have the showdown where Aang first meets Azula and they see Prince Zuko after he had been kind of lost to them during the battle at the North Pole. The episode immediately afterwards, Prince Zuko is training with Uncle. You should watch Avatar The Last Airbender. I know that you've probably heard that before, but it's probably one of the singular best TV shows ever made, really, and it's defined a lot of modern storytelling, shockingly, because it was just that good. But I've been rewatching it recently. I watched it first when I was a kid, and then my sibling likes to watch it at least twice a year, and has watched it twice a year since we were, like, 14, 15 years old. So, for almost a decade at this point. I've seen Avatar The Last Airbender at least once a year, but I decided to rewatch it on my own, and I'm just hitting the end of season 2. I'm heading into the final season. And there were definitely some of the bending poses that, particularly for firebending, I've always been an earthbending stan. I think that earthbending is the most, at least to me, the most interesting type of bending. I know that waterbending is also super interesting, and we don't have a lot about airbending, but I've always been an earthbending stan, but there are a lot of the poses from the firebenders really stood out to me on this watch through. And I ended up the other night kind of sketching one of my characters, the one that I use for all my profile pictures, in one of the poses that Prince Zuko, one of the early antagonists and late protagonists in the story, has during his training. And I kind of wanted to go through it because I need a new profile picture. This one's heading up on almost a year old, I'd say. Cross-platform, and of course I have the more animated one that you see kinda in the top of the screen. But I don't have as much art of my warlord design for this character as I'd like. I have a lot of the witch because the witch is older and the witch is simpler to draw. But I like my warlord design more. Ooh. I usually try to watch something at least in the background while I'm working because I can't focus if I'm just left alone in silence. It's very hard for me to pay attention to just my own thoughts because the demons are out to get me in my brain. The ones that I have invented for myself. Ooh. No, but I get super anxious when I'm left to think to myself, so I try to have, like, some sort of TV or live stream on as I work. Avatar's just been what I've been watching recently, because I happened to binge the entirety of Final Destination in, like, a few weeks, and I needed to watch something else. The other thing I've super been watching recently that's very clearly been influencing me is the Fallout series, but that's more been influencing my writing as of late than anything else, which is fine, because a lot of my friends have been independently watching the Fallout series, and they're not mad about having to do post-apocalyptic stuff. I am usually the first person to rally against dystopias and post-apocalyptic narratives. I love Fallout as a franchise. It has a very special place in my heart, particularly the older Fallout games. But also, my dad growing up. So obviously, I'm in my mid-20s. And that means I grew up during the height of tween dystopia madness, and I didn't love most tween dystopias. I enjoyed The Hunger Games. I still, to this day, think The Hunger Games is good, and in fact has aged like a fine wine. But I read a lot of teenage dystopias, and you know why? Because my parents are divorced, and my dad and my mom, while they were technically supposed to live in the same town, my dad found a loophole around that. In that he would, during the weekends, go and live in a second house while maintaining his main residence in the town I grew up in. And my poor father. He really liked teenage dystopias. And so it was a 3-hour drive between his house that he lived in most of the time and came to get us bring us to during the weekends. And, where we lived and went to school, which honestly, kudos to him, but I have a ton of fears related to long road trips, freezing to death in the middle of the mountains because of that. But during these 3-hour-long drives, he would play teenage dystopian audiobooks. Can I tell you, there is not a singular series. Actually, that's not true. I hate Diabolic Lovers more than any of the teenage dystopian novels because I was the one who subjected myself to Diabolic Lovers. But Divergent holds a special place of hatred in my heart. I don't think Divergent is bad, but if you were forced to listen to Divergent and you had no interest in the romance of Divergent, it was like, get back to the action, I want to see someone die, you would also probably not love dystopian settings, and it's weirdly become a problem in my life because a lot of the tropes I like in media typically come up in dystopian style settings, and that makes it a little bit hard to find media that I super love, but I've always loved Fallout. Fallout is amazing, and I've been watching a ton of the Fallout series, and I've been so happy because it's so good, and it's not sappy, it's not super romantic, I'm here for blood, guts, and glory, and Fallout has a TV series, Siri. Fallout as a TV series has been giving me all the blood and guts I could want. I am living. Fallout is so good. If you haven't started the Fallout TV series, please do. Just be warned that there is definitely a different effect. You wouldn't think about it because the Fallout characters are all humans and they look like humans and they're not super stylized. You think when you're playing the Fallout games, but the Fallout TV series, it hits differently when it's live-action humans in a very good way, but it is very gory. Most of my friends have also been watching the Fallout series, and they've been subjected to me talking nonstop about Fallout for the past several weeks, which is fine. Which is okay. We're all thriving. We're all doing fine. But also, I know that a lot of my friends tend to like the newer Fallout games in comparison to me, who likes the older Fallout games. That's partially because I struggle with a lot of 3D games, so when I'm thinking about Fallout, I'm thinking about Fallout 1, Fallout 2, the Master... yeah. Brain cells gone. Fallout 1 is an amazing game. But all my friends have been subjected to this. So, in our Dungeons and Dragons, not our Dungeons and Dragons, in our Call of Cthulhu, which is a different tabletop role-playing game, I usually just say Dungeons and Dragons to explain it to my mother, who, despite having grown up in having raised a family of nerds, and having married a nerd, and divorced a nerd, and then married a second nerd, but that nerd's a video game nerd, still does not know what a tabletop RPG is. She literally... I love my mother so much. She's the coolest woman I've ever met, honestly. And that's saying a lot because I've met some really cool women. My mom used to work, before she married my dad, she worked for Mattel, I believe another toy company, I don't know which one. And she worked abroad designing toys. And then she came back to the US, married my dad, became a stay-at-home mom for several years, got divorced, started her own business, and now is doing really well with that. But she did toy stuff. She did nerd stuff. Didn't know it was nerd stuff, but she did nerd stuff. She married not one but two nerds over the course of her life. And she doesn't, I have to explain it to you, more like being, oh, it's Dungeons and Dragons. No, Mom, it's not actually Dungeons and Dragons, but it's close enough. She wasn't always supportive of the nerd hobbies, for me at least, but she got used to it. She was always supportive for it for my younger sibling because her argument with me was she was scared that I'd be interacting with maybe old guys, which just ended up that I interacted with old guys online instead of in person. With my sibling, it was like, they're not gonna want your sibling. Your sibling's fine. Which is not true. She became more fine with it over the years. She still does not understand it. But it's wild because my mom loves things that are technically nerdy. She has had periods where she's super been into things like Settlers of Catan. She, will nerd out about stuff like crochet. She likes art stuff as well. She got very into shows. I think my mom's probably autistic, but every time she's gone to get diagnosed, they've told her no, because her social skills are so great. But I've seen this woman go for like 4 weeks only eating grilled cheese because that's her special interest at the moment, and it's tasty, and she likes heels because they let her stand properly, and everything she does is autism coded, but it's never autistic. She would not be happy if she heard I was calling her autistic online. Really, it's a compliment. She also had 2 autistic children. There's a high probability it's autism. She thinks she might have ADHD though, finally, so we're breaking through. We're doing our thing. Oh, I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, you know what I wasn't talking... I was talking about Fallout, but now I'm on grilled cheese. So grilled cheese is really great, right? I really like grilled cheese. Grilled cheese is really good. But I'm severely lactose intolerant. I need you to know that. It's not like, oh, I get the runs. It's, no. As a kid, I had a straight up milk allergy, where instead of just having some bowel movements, I would actually start internally bleeding if I had milk. Thank you! I'm glad! Yeah, no, this is 100% popping off. I'm liking this already. The idea started off vague and is going hard. Oof. And then the doctor said, well, you're no longer allergic to milk, so I started eating milk, and it developed into lactose intolerance again. It swung back around from milk allergy to not allergic to milk to I'm just lactose intolerant, so as an adult. But that's not gonna stop me from eating cheese, and so usually around the house, I keep just some sort of soft cheese, and I'd say my diet is like 45% consistent of cheese, and the rest of my family's diet is maybe like 30% consistent of cheese, so we keep just nice cheeses around. So I'll add in just scraps of whatever remaining cheeses we have, some brie, some parmesan, some mozzarella, a nice camembert. I'll put that on the Aldi Power Bread, because I was on the keto diet for a hot minute. I'll probably go back on the keto diet soon. I'd like to be on keto again because I have colitis, and most grains tear up my stomach anyways, and I don't super, I like sweets, but I don't super crave sugar. I end up craving things like bacon and steak and chicken and pork belly. Ooh, good pork belly. Have that power bread with different scraps of cheese. Cheese that I have, because I keep a lot of really nice cheese. I have in my freezer 2 tubs of this really nice goat cheese from this one cheese farm that used to exist up until like last year, late last year, in Massachusetts, that I'd occasionally visit growing up. And it was like a super local, super small farm where there wasn't even a person who was manning the register. It was literally an honor system for buying this goat cheese. And I have like the last 2 tubs of it in the world in my freezer. And at some point, I have to eat the cheese, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting until I find an occasion special enough to eat my favorite the last of my favorite goat cheese ever. It was never like an, oh, I can have this every day thing. No, because the farm was all the way in Massachusetts. In like the middle of nowhere, Massachusetts. We only started going here because we had a friend that occasionally, when we were kids, needed to have us house sit for them. Because they worked all the way across the country over in like LA, and so we'd have to go to their house on occasion and just watch over it. And so the cheese, the special goat cheese was always special goat cheese. It was never not special goat cheese. But now there's only 2 tubs left of the special goat cheese. I'm not sure there's ever going to be a good enough excuse to eat it. Oof. We are once again in the position where I don't like how big the eyes are. I don't know how we constantly end up in this position, but we're definitely here again. That small tweak made this so much better. Oof. Okay. A pass-through of the blue bits on this outfit. So, fun fact, it's probably only fun for me, prior to really the past few centuries, there were only supernatural dyes readily available, and there are 2 main exceptions. There's a purple dye and a blue dye from China and Egypt. Egyptian blue and Chinese purple, and both of them were both super vibrant and super toxic. And they were about these colors. Do not... Okay, I need to put myself on the loading screen briefly. Hi, Mom! Do not dox yourself, mother. Uh, both Chinese purple and Egyptian blue were super, super toxic. Oh, I need to switch back to the actual art stream. Okay, this is definitely working. This is gonna be new profile picture material, so we need to make sure this looks good. I could, but I think what's gonna happen is I'm gonna actually do a sunrise. So it's gonna start off with the super, super vibrant pink, and it's gonna fade out into yellow and then into a very light peachy orange. And then the magic she's gonna be casting is gonna be blue. So I can do it now. I'm not even anywhere close to done with the rendering. This is kind of what it's gonna be like. Where we have this super vibrant pink on bottom. We fade it out into this lighter yellow. And then it's gonna go up back into an orange. And then behind it, I'm gonna actually end up doing, well, that is not fully shaded. I don't love to do this super early on if I can avoid it, because I know that I'm gonna change things. We're gonna have some just rock formations behind her. And it's gonna be a few of these kind of splinters of rock. And they're not gonna be super, super rendered as we go along. Then in front of that, there's gonna be clouds and kind of a fog effect. Again, in kind of like a purpley blue color. I'm gonna keep them sort of wispy. It's gonna be long-ish streaks. But they're almost gonna move in a spiral shape around. kind of almost surrounding this character. And it's also going to be in the foreground in the end, too. Because I want to give the impression of force. That this isn't just a character on a blank space. It's someone who not only exists in a world, but is actively, with their own power, shaping that world. And then finally, behind the clouds, but above the other stuff, we're gonna have the super bright sun just backlighting the head. Can't believe I'm doing the background this early on. I usually have not a perfect idea, but an idea of the environments my characters are in, even though I do, like, my background lights and my reflections pretty late on into my pieces. Because I'm thinking about, from the get-go, the actual color theory of what I want and how I want things to look. The other great thing about backgrounds for still pieces and for things that you aren't using as a super important asset is they can be vague. They can be super stupidly vague. Which you can it makes it harder to actually do the piece in real time by having in the background, but it will give you an idea of what it will look like in the end. Then in front of the character, as our most saturated part of the piece, we're gonna have this lightning coursing around them. Which is what they're casting, because there is a very, very hyper-specific thing that this piece is going to be referencing. I'm going to briefly actually step away and take out the dogs, because I just got reminded to do that, though. I'm gonna leave this up while I do that, so you can kind of get a glimpse at the work in progress. I'm gonna do the chest plate's basic shading beforehand, and the stupid fur's basic shading, and then I'll come back and I'll start on refining it. Because we have our basic blocking almost done. That is almost part 1 of this piece, entirely finished. This breastplate is going to end up being more detailed, but I just need to know how it exists in this space for now. The reason why I like to separate the breast part of breastplate as one panel and then the underside as one panel is because I like to do a bit of detailing on the actual underplate. Gives me the opportunity to add in designs on these side panels. On the central panel, I can add in ab decorations and kind of scale theming. This wasn't in the original design, but now that I said scales, and it's dragon, I think I might add in a male shirt underneath. The legs still aren't really getting much protection, but that's fine because as I do the skin, I'm gonna go in and add in her actual scales. So there's gonna be like actual natural armor on this character rather than having proper leg armor and proper arm armor. I might go back in and add like some cloth / leather bracers though, because those are always fun. But here's the thing, it's gonna have the scales, and I don't want the design element of Jabberwocky's scales to end up conflicting with anything else. The male shirt adds in way more movement, though. Oh. I'm gonna try adding in the arm bracers just to see what they look like. I can always... I'm considering deleting the wings on this. We're gonna start off with the fur trim along the edges. We're gonna go back in and add in a layer underneath. We're gonna do it in the black color I've been using for a lot of the leather bits of this. Okay, you know what? That adds a lot of contrast. That adds a stupid amount of contrast, and I have that red gemstone. I can go in and add the gemstone on the armbands as well. That's where I want a lot of my scales to be, but you know what? I can still get in my actual scale work. I can still get in my scale work. I'll just have to add more of it onto the legs, which is fine. I was already planning on doing a lot of those patches of scales on the legs. And the armbands just add in that nice color contrast, whereas this is a red dragon character. They're gonna have red scales, reddish pink scales, and a lot of their actual flesh tones are that reddish pink already. So having in the armbands just helps with the movement of the piece as it is. And also adds in more protection. Even though they're literally a dragon, they have those natural built-in defenses. It also looks good without the armbands. It would be fine without the armbands. But having that darker color is really, really nice. The other thing that I wanted to do was I was gonna have some yellow detailing on the blue parts of the outfit. Because I like blue and gold as the color theming for these clothes. And then the armor all being, well, blue gold and this navy blue black that I'm doing. Ooh. Said I was gonna be right back, and now I'm just taking forever. I miss doing calligraphy. I should do more calligraphy at some point. I have my Bushido stuff, like, right by my bed. It would be a very, very short thing to do. Well, it wouldn't be short, but, you know. You know how it be. I spent so many hours as a kid doing Bushido. That's just, like, second nature now. Okay, so I will be right back. I'm gonna leave up the piece on the screen in this work in progress state as I do that. I'm just gonna check on the dogs again. Both animals have been taken to the bathroom. They were taken to the bathroom before stream, but they gotta go again. Ugh, my heart. I always worry. Which, that's what a pet owner should do. They should be worried. But these there's been reports of coyotes in the area recently, and the corgis are both like 30 pounds. Gwen might be a bit over 30 pounds. Gwen needs to lose weight at this point. But, you know. Corgos need to be monitored when they're outside. And so I just get anxious when I'm letting them out now. I can't just keep the doggy door open and let them roam. Which I wish they could. They used to be able to do that, but they can't do that anymore because of all the coyotes in the area. Dude, Gwen is just a little sausage roll right now. She's so cute. But the vet got mad at us because the teethers have some plaque, and so we've been giving them greenies, and while the greenies are great for their teeth, they also will compete over them, so it becomes a race between the two dogs to see who can get the greenies first and eat them faster. And not only that, but none of us seem to coordinate on who gives one of the dogs a greenie, so they're both getting like 6 of them between the two of us every few days. So their teeth are great, but we need to put up like a have you given the corgis a greenie yet? Yes or no? Our sweet dogs, our adorable dogs. They deserve all the chewies in the world, don't get me wrong. But we will actually end up hurting them if we don't start coordinating over did you give them a greenie or not. I'm not gonna actually make this linked just yet. But I am gonna do overlapping circles in order to create texture that I want for this male. Which, like, from a distance, that already looks pretty good on the scale mail's bottom, but we can make it slightly better by just going whoop, 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 whoop. I do literal scale mail work. Why am I not doing an actual pattern? This would not hold together. I literally have my scale mailing tools next to me. When I'm stressed and I need a brain break, I start to do scale mail shit. It's good for the mind. I should literally just do an actual scale mail pattern rather than winging it, but you know what? We're gonna be viewing it from a distance. This is what it ends up looking like. It still visually conveys. It's not scale mail, it's chain mail. If it was scale mail, it would be different. I ended up going with chain mail, which is fine because I like chain mail as well. I don't know why I kept on calling it scale mail when I'm doing chain mail specifically. I literally do mail work. Like, this isn't something that's foreign to me. I have the info and the knowledge of it. I've been doing scale mail work and chain mail work on my own since 2021. I know what I'm doing, I promise. I'm just not doing it right now because I'm lazy and tired. Actually, I'm never gonna show this off on stream because it's way too fragile to let them run around in. But Gwen has a little chainmail almost sweater, and then Snail Mail, hi cool dude, welcome on in. Snail Mail is also good. Ooh, I love that band. But Gwen, I made Gwen a saddle blanket and like almost a chainmail sweater years and years ago, and she can't wear it outside because it's one of my earlier chainmail pieces and it's super delicate. But Gwen has a bread and fair costume that she'll never be able to wear. And the saddle blanket is hand woven. I did it myself on this little loom I have. The chainmail is hand pressed together. I did it all myself. I made the actual loops out of I forget the gauge of wire, but I made the loops out of wire. I did it all myself, and I made it for Gwen, and it was before we got Obi. Maybe I'll redo it at some point and make Obi a Ren Fair costume. But I need to actually redo my Ren Fair costume before then, because my Ren Fair costume is old as fuck, and no longer fits me because I made it in my teens, and I didn't stop growing in my teens, that's for sure. Hashtag big boob problems. Besides the point. The Hunga Bunga mommy milkers are in fact both a blessing and a curse. 1, 2, 3. Actually try to do something semi-normal on the sleeves. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about... Nope, I'm not gonna talk about it. I am gonna talk about it, but I should preface this with, this isn't actually an SFW. Boobs are just part of the human anatomy. They're just the thing some people got. They're great, they're wonderful, I love breasts. Breasts are amazing, breasts are the best part of so many people's body, but not mine. I have boobage problems, and I have had boobage problems since I was very, very young. I've been trying to get it documented for years and years and years that I have that kind of boobage problems. But as a larger breasted person, it is very, very difficult to go out and intentionally try to meet people when you are single. Because it definitely is some people's thing, and it is the only thing they will notice about you. I'm not saying that smaller breasted folk have it easier. In some cases they do, though. I wish I could just wear a sports bra out and exercise. That would be so nice. I'd love to do that. But some people are very, very weird about boobs. I get it. I'm also a little bit weird about it, but you know what? They're just a part of the human form. But I have always had bigger mounds, and it's to the point where I am definitely qualified with the documented history of this I have for a medical reduction, and I'll probably at some point get it. definitely help with the dysphoria, but it'll also just help on a day-to-day basis. And so since I was little, I wanted to get into costuming, and I really, really like Ren Fair style costumes. Ren Fair, I've loved the Ren Fair for years and years and years. I go every year with my extended family. Basically, all of us either have a costume or we have gear that we bring to it. And my family, my extended family at least, doesn't get together much. I have 8 siblings, most of whom are on my dad and stepmom's side, and we all get together for the Ren Fair. And over the course of my teens, I made this really cool, like, rogue wanderer type character costume for myself. It had arm guards, it had a lot of leather armor, it had a lot of pieces that I either bought from specific craftsmen I really like or made myself, and it just no longer fits. Because the thing about armor is, it really is, in a lot of cases, especially for these Ren Fair costumes, made specifically for one person. And the armor that fit 16, 17-year-old Jabberwocky, especially the chest plates, less so the pants, because I really primarily, with the sort of costume I had, did leg guards, just no longer fits. I want to make new ones. It would be really nice. So maybe this coming year I'll make that one of my side projects, that I'll just remake my Ren Fair costume. Okay. We are popping off with this. This is starting to go hard. Okay, we're good. Absolutely going hard. Welcome back, Globe. How are you doing? This is whereabouts we are. I ended up spending a hot moment on the male shirt underneath. And we're starting to go in and refine things. are you feeling? I'm glad you like it. Honestly, it's starting to come together. It is. We are definitely starting to pull weight. There's still a long way to go. I haven't really refined the skin at all. And I shouldn't be starting with the clothes for my refinements. That's bad practice, but you know what? It's looking good. It's coming together. And these are more complicated clothing anyways, so it's fine. It is okay. Oh, as we add in that little bit of blue from the areas around. We're also gonna do that on the male shark. It just adds so much, adding in those kinds of reflections. I'm gonna do a bit of harder light here for that. Put it there. It also helps that this is the same color, kinda, as the blue lightning we're gonna be doing later on. So this isn't this character at all's regional style, but you know what I'm gonna do? I want to kind of have like the swirlies that you see on a lot of amphora-based depictions of Greek heroes on the chest plate, because those are fun. That's a fun thing to include. That is a design decision. Okay, that adds a lot to it. That adds way more than I thought to this piece. Ooh. You know what I can do as well? I can start adding in, because I wanted to add more detail into the lower breastplate. I'm gonna do a floral pattern. Honestly, this armor is meant to be more decorative than functional anyways. I just hope that that one guy that reviews armors, that one really key person that reviews armors, doesn't review this armor, because it's not functional at all. You cannot take this into combat and win easily. It is way too heavy on top, there's not enough protection on bottom. It's not gonna be functional. It's gonna look good. it might work for like a ceremonial purpose. But you're not gonna take this into combat and win. That's okay, you don't need to. Let's lay in this cloth in the areas like right around the skin with the skin tone. Right there. Actually, these top parts should get it too because they're right against the wings. Then we'll also go in with this darker color from the pants. Right in the areas that are directly touching that. Because it doesn't exist in a vacuum. This character, all of the different parts of it need to be really interacting with each other, so I should theoretically also be going in with the blues from the kind of shirt that we have and adding them in here and here. I should be doing the same with flesh tones on the leather. Gives everything this kind of dreamlike feel. I always go heavier on this bit than I need to when I do it. It also just grounds everything in peace. As well. I always think it looks really great with the eyes. And you do it with the hair too, even. Like when you add in the reflections from the rest of the piece to what you're doing, it all just tends to come together in a way it otherwise wouldn't. Even when you're leaving your actual rendering fairly intentionally simple, you end up almost with this character in a space. That's why for my highlights, I also tend to like to use very, very saturated colors instead of just light colors. Because it's has waited for something that bright. Ooh. I have not started on the fur at all. The fur has remained untouched. Which is fine. I can just quickly do that. Just go in and floop, floop, floop. Floop, flop, floop, doop, doop. Floop, doop, dop, doop, dop. Floop, floop, flop, floop, doop, doop. Floop, doop, dop, doop, doop. Another fun about this specifically really light fur color is I can just go in and add other colors from throughout the piece. It's all bright, so you're still gonna get the impression of it. You're still gonna tell what it is in this context, but it's gonna just bring every single part of the piece into it. In more modern designs, you can use faux furs, and of course, other furs that are darker colors or have more coarse textures rather than this fluffy bit also can look really great, but I love a little bit of a fluffy fur trimming to things. I started doing it way back in the day because I was really into Inuyasha in my teens for a hot minute. Short period of time, a hot period of time. But a period nonetheless. And Sesshomaru from Inuyasha had this fluffy, sentient fur that he wore called Mokyu Mokyu, which of course means fluffy fluffy. And Mokyu Mokyu was always fun to draw on, like, fan art. Because it's just a cloud. It's just a cloud of fur. It doesn't have to be super accurate to life. It's just fluff. It's floof. You've got floof. That's a good way of making a character that isn't super textured, very fast. It's a good way of giving characters who have primarily sleeker textures to them in fantasy designs some more fluffy and lighter textures. You can always also just go back in and add it. More little stuff around the outside. If your character has straight hair, you can add some fur in to give it volume that they otherwise might not have. Just, if you haven't considered adding some fur trimming to your character, give your character some fur trimming. Do it. Bet. You can make it work. You can pop off with it. It's gonna be good. Great, even. Right, we're doing this. We're going well. Oof. Of course, the same rules apply here as they do in other parts of the piece. Go in, adding your reflections from the areas around. Keep things as grounded as you really can. The lighter your color is, the more it's going to reflect light, and the darker your color is, the more it's going to absorb darkness. And so, in characters that have a lot of light to their designs, you should try to make sure that your highlights are super, super saturated, and in characters, you should always try to add in darkness and light. You're gonna get more bang for your buck. Said that in reverse. You get more bang for your buck out of doing lighter highlights and more saturated darks on lighter characters, and you're gonna get more bang for your buck out of doing more saturated lights on characters with darker palettes. There, I got out the sentence. I did not spread misinformation on the internet this time. You should always also just lean into saturation where you feel like it works. It's important to know when to saturate and desaturate things, but saturation is a useful tool. Don't be scared of saturating your drawings. Yes, you're not gonna want to make a sparkle dog, but everyone makes a sparkle dog in the process of learning how not to make a sparkle dog. Oof. Oh, so Call of Cthulhu last night. Yeah, I only got through about an eighth of the notes I had for session before I was like, I need to take a snooze. I need to go to sleep. I was not into it, and I also prepped way harder for session than any person ever needed to. So when we reached a good cutoff point, I was like, hey, I know I have more that you guys can do today, but I'm gonna make the executive decision that I need to take a break. And they were like, cool, we're gonna play Monster Prom in the background. And I was like, great, I'll watch as I fall asleep. And then I didn't fall asleep, and I just watched them play Monster Prom while lying in a puddle of goop and sadness on my bed. Not sadness, but exhaustion. Oof. Okay. I still haven't done bracers, have I? Let me just quickly do that. I didn't do the arm flip either. Oh my god. I am not on the ball. And go back into the fluff. Going to floof, 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 floof. Floof, 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 floof. Floof, 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 floof. Fluff it all up. I forgot to do that. So I'm going to talk a bit about Hoseki no Kuni, because that recently ended. It was good. It was really good. And I'm very sad that it's over. But I'm also glad that I got into it when I did. Because I had watched the anime way back in the day when that came out. And this past year I decided, hey, you know what has a really great art style that I haven't read or watched in ages and ages? Hoseki no Kuni. I started to reread it in early February, and that was like the perfect timing to get way back into Hoseki no Kuni, because it ended just a few weeks ago. I was able to read it front to back right before the finale came out, and I'm sad it's over, but oh my gosh, that was a good manga. The development Voss went throughout the course of that story, my conflicting feelings about Kongo and the other gems, rest in peace and art right, how Enma acted, the conflicting motivations between Lunarians and the gems, what a society that's post-human, inspired by humanity, might look like. How to truly be happy. Great, stupidly great manga, actually. And of course, there are a lot of really great manga, there are a lot of really great anime in general out there. But Hoseki no Kuni was something special. And I'm glad that I got to enjoy it right when I did, because that was the best time to enjoy Hoseki no Kuni. Well, other folks are home. I am no longer alone. I'm gonna start going in on the detailing of the scales, because I want to get that down. And the scaling detail is relatively easy to do. I know everyone has their own methods for doing scales, but I actually literally just like to do patches of color in a scale shape, which you can do by just drawing a U and going over it again. They add a lot of movement to a piece, they can indicate that a character is more naturally hardy than another. add some visual interest in places that wouldn't otherwise have it. Like, these arms, they would normally just be arms, but now they're arms with scales! Scales, motherfucker! Gives you texture in really interesting places and ways. Can also let you highlight different edges of your piece. It's like the ball of this thumb, due to the lighting around it and the ambiance, it's not as accentuated as I'd like it to be. So I can just go in and add some patches of scales to it in order to highlight that it's even there. I'm also going to go in and add in some red talons. I normally do Walkie's nails in either red or blue when I draw her. Or in black. I like black a lot too for nail coloring. But because we have a lot of blue in this specific piece. Okay, this is starting to look really, really good. That little bit of detailing from the scales goes such a long way. Ooh, not bad. Okay, this looks nice. This looks great. It's always cool when you start to see it actually come together. Here's another thing I can do, which is kind of gross, but I like it. I think it adds to it. I can go ahead and add in some veins onto the interior membranes of the wing. I'll do it over the entire thing. I should leave part of this untouched, which is sort of connection bits. I'll add in the background color to make it look more transparent. To kind of give the impression that it's like a bat wing or something. This is why I left a large part of the legs bare. I wanted to have scales going up and down it. Because again, it's a lot of textural interest. It's just U-shapes stacked on top of each other. especially because this is a humanoid character rather than like a furry or something, I need some ways of showing that they are, in fact, this sort of animalistic, draconic bit. Here we go. Thank you! I'm glad! We're starting to get to a point where this is looking really good. I had a vision, I went with the vision is working out. Okay, now we got our gems. Which gems are always really easy. I'm not a big jewelry person myself, IRL. I don't like having a lot of weight on different parts of my body if I'm not asleep or relaxed. Just walking around, it really trips me out. But it's fun to draw jewelry, so I end up adding it to both of my characters, male and female. Because it's all just reflections. It's reflections all the way down. Here we go. You can always do it differently, but you see, here's the thing, you can shade jewelry the same sort of way you shade eyes. So if you like drawing eyes, you'll probably enjoy drawing jewels. Good way to jam pack a lot of color, a lot of brightness into a piece in a very small period of time. Okay, this time we're gonna get onto the background. Start going in on that, huh? the thing about painting is it's just taking a singular idea and refining it over and over and over again until it's something you love. And it's kind of the joy of it. You can go for as short or as long as you need to. And just keep on getting better. A lot of this isn't even that hard of decision making or that complex to do. It's just a series of small decisions and figuring out what you want to flesh out more and more and more each pass through. The thing about art is it's a bunch of big problems that can be broken down almost infinitely. Draw a line, you can paint. You just have to learn how to figure out how to break down those sorts of problems. Okay, we are already doing really, really well. But now it's time. We're gonna get into our overlay and color dodge layers. Going ahead, adding in some blue where the lightning is. Color dodge, we're gonna pull in a very, very soft pink rim light to our lovely character here. Let's make it a brighter pink, maybe? Just gonna do it right around the edge. I know that rim lights are a bad habit. You shouldn't get into the habit of doing rim lights, but a rim light really works here. We're gonna turn down the opacity of this again, which is going in and doing it like this now, so that I can fully see Don't get into the habit of doing rim lights, is the TLDR, but for this specific scenario, rim light works. Because once you start doing rim lights, it's hard to stop doing rim lights. And in like 99% of cases, rim lights do not work. This is the exception, not the rule. This is a scenario where a rim light is actually a thing you should have. But on the opposite end, we need to also do an interior overlay. This is also going to have its opacity lowered. I'm just literally doing this like this so that I can better see what's up and what I need to do the overlay on. It should go like that. It should go there. There. It should go on the interior of the legs and on the underside of, I guess it's a loincloth. I don't know how to describe it. Like that, and it should go on the insides of both of the wings. And this would be like 25. Overlay. I'm gonna go into the blues, and I want to do another round of that. This is all getting done the same. Because here's the thing, this is all environmental lighting at this point. We have our actual shading already done. Just adding in how the environment affects everything with these sorts of lights at the end. And it dramatically changes the piece. Actually lower the opacity of this right off the bat because in this instance it's going to be easier for me to process it. I don't usually do this, but I am gonna do a bit of saturation right at the end. So I did go very, very hard on the lightness, and it would help. I did go hard on the saturation, and it would help to desaturate some parts of this that I don't want to be my main focus. Now would be really nice to desaturate. The cape should get a bit of desaturation. That's just going to help with how we focus on this piece. Similarly, I'm going to wash out parts of my work that go along with this pass-through. It's hard to add color. Actually, it's easy to add color. It's easy to add color, it's easy to take color away. Now it's time to actually do a check. There is something I want to do with the background still. I just want to check to see, because I'm starting to get worried. Okay, this is good info, so here's what I can do. This is gonna be weird, but I'm gonna actually brighten that sun. And then I'm gonna go ahead, add another layer above that, underneath the hair. Go ahead and swoosh. I'm gonna go ahead and add in, because the boots are almost the same hue, saturation, lightness as this rock. I'm gonna go ahead and do like a little bit of rim light just around them to indicate where they are. Just gonna be on the lower half of the body. I'm gonna disguise what this is as a rim light by going and adding it in as a little bit of detail on these rocks in the background. But rather than being a, oh, I'm highlighting where my stupid boots are, it's gonna be, oh, there's a romp light. Background's so wonderful and fleshed out, haha. Now we can go back in with a color dodge. We're gonna do it with the blue again. This one's gonna be a little bit more deliberate, a little bit brighter. Because I do actually want parts of my shading to be in this nice blue. Yes, that is a big part of the piece, that I want this very, very nice bright blue to be showing as my most intense lighting. It can be harsher on my metal than on other places. I'm just going to do this as little loopies. Little loopies. Always loopies. I love my loopies. Yum, yum, yum. Here we go. Okay, it's time for the two checks of all time. Add layer from canvas. Hue, saturation, lightness. That now looks like I want it to. That translates into black and white. There are parts of it that aren't super clear, like these legs beneath, but you can still tell where they are. Because you have the guiding textures, you have the guiding lights. The bracers 100% ended up saving the composition of this. Because I would not be able to tell where they were. Now here's for our other test. Flip it. It translates flipped! We did it, lads! That still looks fine! Oh no, there's some horrible things about this. Let's stop looking at it like that. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take our liquefy tool, we're gonna just patch it up a little bit as needed. I shouldn't have actually merged all those layers. I can duplicate my folder. I can hide that one. I can merge this one. Lads, we are cooking. Flip. And a few highlights to the lips. I feel like this is a good place for this piece to end off in. my gosh. This is stupidly pretty. I needed a new thing for cross-platform images of my character. I feel like we got it out of this. That is an intense piece. I did the sketch. I thought it would look good. I didn't even imagine it would look that good. I do maybe want to try to do a second piece today, but this one was really intense, so I don't think I'd be able to get through something super complicated. Because this was complicated. This was a really complicated piece. You have posing, you have lighting, you have composition. It's really pretty. It's really pretty. If this was a comic cover, I would click on it. Okay, it's time to start brainstorming for something new, though. So I'm gonna briefly put myself on the loading screen. I want to do one more piece before I do my actual, like... Actually, you know what? I am bushed. I cannot feel one of my hands. That... I didn't realize it. I went to go just make sure I saved and cataloged that briefly, and I realized I couldn't feel one of my hands. So we're gonna call this quits for now. I'll be back tomorrow. See y'all soon. Bye! Bye! Have a great